anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Oh boy. Okay, we're doing an instant poll in the chat right now. Okay, should Kamala Harris do more interviews or no? Because that's a terrible answer. So there's a whole drama as to whether she should have answered that. Later she went back to amend it, hold for that. And then I'm going to weigh in on whether I think she should keep doing these interviews or not. Back to you, Anna.
Well, Kamala Harris has been doing more interviews. And to be fair, she's been urged to do more interviews. And that might be one of the few things that she's been listening to. So credit where credit is due on that. However, during her appearance on The View, she did what she seemed to want to not do, which is distance herself from Joe Biden. Instead, she decided to say that, no, I'm totally in line with everything Joe Biden has done. And it's a bizarre move because according to a recent CNN report, her campaign team is well aware that anything having to do with Biden is extremely unpopular with voters at the moment. Now, we're going to get back to that report in a second, and it's important to know the details of that. But before we do, let's hear more of what Kamala Harris has to say about the Biden administration.
The work that we have done, for example, capping the cost of insulin at $35 a month for our seniors is something I care deeply about allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices.
Yes.
And bring the cost of prescription medication down for seniors, but my intention is to expand that for all Americans. The work we have done to invest in American industries, whether it be in terms of manufacturing and creating almost 800,000 new jobs around manufacturing. Those were all a shared priority.
So let me just say, while I think that it is definitely risky to tie yourself to policies that were implemented by Biden, there are policies implemented by Biden that are popular. And so I like that she decided to focus on the cost of pharmaceutical drugs, right? She focused on the right things. Now, had she decided to instead focus on sending tens of billions of dollars in military funding to Israel or hundreds of billions of dollars in military funding to Ukraine, that kind of stuff, or if she touted the Biden administration's immigration policy, which whether you are in favor of his policies or not, they are not polling well. If she attached herself to that, that would hurt her politically, big time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But at least she focused on the right issues.
Yeah. Oh, look at that poll moving live. I love that. Okay, so keep voting in the poll move as we go.
Let's put up the split screen.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Interesting.
So I'm going to weigh in on the poll in a second, but first let's keep going about this. Look, we're going to give you the debate in a second as to whether what direction she should go on staying with Biden and say, yeah, I'm proud to be with Biden, or starting to create distance between herself and Biden. So that's a different question than whether she should do interviews. In that question, I say, stay away from Biden. Biden is not a popular person. So I hate to break the hearts of Democrats, but if you would like to beat Donald Trump, please do rational things and not just things that appease powerful Democrats. That's for another day when we're not trying to win a national election. That's for like your feelings, and you want to do rosé all day at another time and go to brunch and mop up Biden's tears. But right now, number one, you look like you're not the change candidate, which you desperately need to be if you want to win this race, if you stick very close to Joe Biden. Number two, he has some unpopular policies that then get stuck onto you. And rhetorically, you want to be a fresh new thing, not, oh yeah, I would have done the same thing as Biden for the last 4 years. I don't know if you know this, Biden's not in the race anymore. And his health and his mental deterioration is a part of it, but also he wasn't gonna win.
Right.
Because right now, only about a quarter of Americans think we're going on the right path. So if you're gonna do interviews, which here, I'll give you a teaser, I think she should, you have got to get a better handle on this issue. You've got to have a terrific answer for, here's what I agree with Joe Biden on and I'm proud of, right? We lowered drug prices. Where the hell are Republicans in lowering drug prices? And here's the parts I do not agree with Joe Biden. And in Washington, I know that that's a giant crime.
That's never gonna happen.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, saying you would disagree with a Democratic president. Guys, this isn't time for your stupid little club and you guys all patting each other on the ass. Go, oh, we love Joe, we're so on the in. This is time to win.
So oftentimes, like, you'll refer to people like Trump as like a blunt instrument, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're good at recognizing blunt instruments because I think you yourself are a blunt instrument.
Damn right I am.
Okay, so look, I overall agree with what you're saying, but I do think that the framing and the tone is everything because there are plenty of voters within the Democratic base who love Joe Biden and would not take kindly to Kamala Harris being as aggressive as you were in the way that you framed that and the way that you said it, right? But I do agree with you that when it comes to the unpopular policies that were implemented or the failures of the Biden administration, she should try to distance herself.
But Anna, look here, let me make one more counter argument. Because the Biden lovers have a 0% chance of not voting for Kamala Harris.
You never know.
No. I mean, 7 of them will stay home. If she spat in his face, 7 of them would stay home, and only 7. You know why? Because they're diehards. They hate Trump. They're never gonna move over Trump. And remember, they follow the current Democratic leader no matter what. He could come out and be like, oh, I finally defeated America. And they'll be like, hey, he's young, he's 25. He's 25, he's dynamic, okay? He's the best possible candidate we have. Those guys are not going to vote against the Democratic leader, no matter what Kamala Harris says. So for God's sake, go get the undecideds who, I hate to break it to you, don't love Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And that is the reason why internally over at the Harris campaign, things are happening, guys. Things are happening. So CNN reports that internal Harris campaign research on the September presidential debate found that one of the most popular moments for the vice president was when she said, clearly, I'm not Joe Biden.
Read a poll, brothers and sisters.
Okay.
Of course that's the most popular. Now you know it's the most popular. Please read a poll.
There's more. In mid-September, the Democratic Research and Polling Initiative Blueprint conducted a national poll testing a long series of potential statements Harris could make about herself and Biden. Those that performed best, the polling found, were those that displayed a clear break between her and Biden, while those that performed worst were those that portrayed a future Harris administration as building on the accomplishments of the Biden era. Any mention of Biden, the polling found, led to less support. Oh, well, that's interesting. Even if the position it had Harris taking was the same, those numbers have made their way around Harris aides. So they're looking at that poll and they're trying to do the distancing. But clearly, during her interview with The View, she failed to do the distancing. And so, look, it's not just about The View. She does, in my opinion, still struggle a little bit in these interviews, but who knows? Maybe she'll get better at it. Maybe she'll get more practice. There's gonna be fumbles here and there. But the main point is that people are still getting to know Kamala Harris. So whether you like it or not, whether we like it or not, whether she likes it or not, she's gonna have to do more interviews. But she's got to remember, what kind of messaging resonates most with the voters who are getting to know her. And so I guess associating with the Biden administration, even though she is VP, not a popular move to make.
Yeah, so look, the reason why I say do more interviews is because, you're gonna get missteps. Even if you're a great politician, you're gonna have missteps from now and then. And in fact, I think Tim Walz is a super popular guy, borderline great politician. Why do I say great politician? Not because of his rhetoric, but because he actually got things done in Minnesota. And if you're a right winger and you don't like Tim Walz and you don't like the things that he got done, that's fine, but he got them done. And you can't argue with that. He got all those bills passed. So that's why he knows what he's doing. But even he, in the middle of the debate, had to quote him, a knucklehead moment, right? And so, and he should have had a better answer prepared for that, and he shouldn't have fibbed about when he was in China, etc. Right? So, but people don't remember like all of your little missteps, especially if you flood the zone. And there's 2 great examples of this. The first was Charles Barkley. So my whole life, Charles Barkley would say amazing, outrageous things. Now I love nearly all of them, even the ones I disagreed with, because I thought, we're having fun. At least this guy's got a personality, etc. But by the end, everybody loved Charles. You know why? And did everybody agree with 100% of what he said? That's impossible, right? but they appreciated the guy. They're like, okay, he's real and he's honest, etc. Right? Now that's a good example. The bad example, but it's still true, is Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, oh my God, he floods the zone with insanity day after day after day. You can't possibly remember. You know, we play Trump brackets where we have all the 64 worst things he's done. We'll play later today, right? But like the one that always sticks out for me is when he said that nobody can do anything about the judges that Hillary Clinton appoints if she wins back in 2016, except the Second Amendment guys, they could do something. I mean, that is directly asking for those judges to be killed. And so there's no, Second Amendment doesn't have flowers and unicorns, it has guns. Okay, so, but nobody remembers because he said 2,000 crazy things since then, including, oh, the audience in the live debate went crazy for me. There was no audience. He's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He often goes on rants about how he's gonna beat Biden. We're like totally, New York Times had a giant write up about this. Half of their examples I didn't love, was just normal crazy Trump. But the other half were devastating, man. He keeps saying things where I go, oh my God, he sounds like Joe Biden.
I know. So look, I think what he was referring to with the audience, debate audience, was the online audience.
No. I've now looked. I hear you, Anna, because you said that last time. I looked into it and quadruple checked it. Okay, I rewatched the tape 3 different times. There was no audience. He wasn't saying, hey, he wasn't making a reference to the polls, which would also not be true, but at least more believable. He wasn't talking about the reaction he got online. He was talking about the audience because he said, I said this and then a crowd went crazy. No, he's losing it. I mean, he was already nuts. But I mean, look, here the already nuts part is when he said Kamala Harris isn't even having campaign rallies or no one's showing up. It's all AI images, right? Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. If you believe that, then you're like the Biden guys on the Democratic side. You'll believe anything from Trump and you'll vote for Trump because you don't mind insanity, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But these things, my point is that Trump is still getting his message out. And what's his core message? The blunt instrument we talked about, which is I'm for you guys and I'm fighting for you guys. And the establishment hates me. Don't you hate the establishment? I'm against the establishment. And through all the insanity and the mental decline and all of that, people are getting his core message. Kamala Harris has to deliver her core message, whatever she thinks is the most winning message she has. You cannot give away hundreds of millions and maybe even billions of dollars in free media. You should be doing 3, 4, 8 interviews a day. Tim Walz should be doing even more. And then nobody's gonna remember that you said that you were just like Joe Biden. Nobody's gonna remember any of your missteps. They're just gonna remember it overall. Look at that, you see my position now winning 74-26. Okay, I love doing these live. Thank you for voting, guys.
All right, let me finish this. Let's go back to Biden, okay? Because so we know how the polling is when Kamala Harris attaches herself or associates with the Biden administration. And this has created some pretty awkward interactions between the Harris campaign and also the Biden White House. So as CNN reports, in September, Harris responded to the Federal Reserve's interest rate cut with a statement about how much more work needs to be done. Then her aides had to spend hours negotiating with their White House counterparts to scale back a victory lap speech Biden planned to give the next day, according to a person familiar with the matter. And complicating this issue even further is Biden himself, who did not do Harris any favors when he said this last week, quote, Harris was a major player in everything we've done, including the passage of legislation, which we were told we could never pass. She's been, and her staff is interlocked with mine in terms of all the things we're doing. However, later in the show, Harris did think of one thing she would do differently than Joe Biden. Let's take a look.
Listen, I plan on having a Republican in my cabinet. You asked
I got a list.
Yeah, right. You asked me what's the difference between Joe Biden and me. Well, that will be one of the differences. I'm going to have a Republican in my cabinet because I don't feel burdened by letting pride get in the way of a good idea.
When she says that she'll appoint a Republican, think about the types of Republicans that have been supportive of her campaign. They're neocons. Please don't put neocons in your cabinet. Please, if you get elected, please don't do that. Yeah. Everyone hates the neocons. Okay. Everyone.
Let me break down why they're fundamentally wrong about the direction that they're going in when they do this strategy. So what's the strategy? The strategy is, we got to win Republicans in the suburbs, and if we can just get the 12 Republicans who claim they're not voting for Trump, then we'll win the election because of how close it is in the swing states. And so they keep going towards traditional Republicans, like the Cheneys. But the traditional Republicans have two giant problems and why they're the wrong direction to go in. Number one, they love war, and the country does not want war. Undecideds, independents don't want war. Nobody wants war except the people in Washington, okay? So that is an unpopular idea. You might say, I love war, and please, let's fight 7 more wars for Israel. They're just defending themselves, and okay, yes, but that's an unpopular position, okay? So the second thing that they're known for is give everything to the rich and to corporations. An incredibly unpopular position, right? So maybe there's a couple of Exxon executives in the suburbs you're trying to win over, okay, but they're not gonna make up for how unpopular those positions are. So what is the actual direction you should be going towards? Because you're trying to convince people that are not already Democrats, not already on the left, to vote for you. So going further left also doesn't make sense. So wait, if you can't go towards old school Republicans, you can't go left, where do you go? Because you ignore that spectrum and you go to the populist establishment spectrum instead, and you go towards populism.
Yeah, left and right makes less and less sense every election cycle. And especially when it comes to political messaging, because while I certainly am suspicious of the economic populist message that's spouted by the likes of J.D. Vance, it is a popular message, right? And it's a message, especially the messaging on tariffs, the pro-tariffs messaging, that used to be a more left-wing policy. And now it's been adapted by the right wing with the Democrats kind of trashing it, even though Biden kept Trump's tariffs and expanded it. Like, none of this stuff really makes sense in the old paradigm of left and right.
Yeah, and so I wanna be clear, they're all fake populists. J.D. Vance is a venture capitalist funded by Peter Thiel, who can't wait to give corporations the biggest tax cut they've ever seen. All of his populism's totally phony baloney. He's a giant fraud. Same for Trump. To give me everything. That's not populism. No, populism is giving to the average American, right? But having said that, is Kamala Harris a populist? Of course not even close. So J.D. Vance has his fake populism. Kamala has I'm gonna go after price gouging. No, she's not. But what happened? That increased her numbers because populism works. It's one of the greatest quotes of all time. It's just a rando guy who was working at a Waffle House that we interviewed in Western Virginia back in 2016 race. He said, look, we know when Trump tells us that he's gonna get the coal jobs back that he's lying, but at least he has the decency to lie to us. Whereas Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party give us no hope at all, right? So don't sit there and go, yeah, I'm gonna send Mark Cuban out. And again, I don't mind Mark Cuban, but sending out business leaders and billionaires all over TV saying, don't worry, big business, I'm on your side. Terrible. Saying, when she said, there's one thing I disagree with Biden on, I was like, ooh, okay, what do we got, right? Because this could be good. And she's like, I want more Republicans. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, you're missing the entire point, right? But the problem, last thing, guys, the problem is there's not a populist in the building. So they don't even know that they're missing it. So everyone around Kamala Harris, everyone in the upper echelons of the Democratic Party are establishment. And so when if a populist accidentally walked into the building and said, hey guys, I think you're misreading the moment. I think that people want you to fight for the average guy and not for the super rich donors you seem to be fighting for. They'd be like, radical, get him out of here. Did any of the donors hear him? They didn't hear him, did they? Get him out of here, get him out, right? Well, that's how you lose elections. And then you could go cry later and blame us and Russia. But we just told you how to win the election. If you'd like to do that, go for it. If not, keep going down this path, and then we're gonna be all buckled up and waiting for impact for 4 brutal years of Donald Trump. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.